Okay, so I've touched on mental health as a barrier to work, and just given you a few case studies, but I wanted to actually include a little bit about how somebody with a mental health problem or with a physical health problem could actually break down those barriers and find themselves work. So barriers can come in any forms, as I touched before. People find it difficult getting up in the mornings, trusting people, dealing with paperwork, the organisation, the transitions from benefits to another, from believing in themselves, and the list goes on and on and on. And especially in physical health, where people can find it very difficult to, say, maintain a sitting posture all day, or be stood up all day, or pushing something around. And it's important that they find a job that can match what they can and can't do. So what I always did is I always tried to talk to, on behalf of my clients, tried to talk to organisations to say, look, I've got a client with this issue, with this barrier, and is there any way that you could manage that barrier, so that you could spot, say, a trigger or an issue, and there could be some sort of prevention technique or some sort of coping mechanism so that the client who is potentially taking the job can actually cope with that. Now, talking to managers is one fantastic way of doing that. Laying your cards on the table, be it, when I worked at the NHS, CRB issues were rife. A lot of people had things on their CRB forms. Now, that was never a problem for us. If they came out and they laid it all on the table, I would actually have a chat to a manager, say, look, this person is really interested in this role, but they do have CRB issues. We'd then have a chat with HR, and we would find out exactly whether they could apply for the role. That made them feel supported. That made them feel as though somebody was going to a certain degree of effort to try and help them find a role, to try and fit them in somewhere. Everyone fits somewhere. I talked about getting somebody who hadn't got a job in 23 years. Now, I actually went to the manager, had a 20-minute chat. On the first 2 days, I popped in on my lunch break and I had a little bit of a chat with the manager while he was in store. My client was actually working, to say, how are things going? And actually he said to me, best client I've ever had, best person I've ever had. He works solidly, hard. We can tell sometimes he gets stressed or just moving to somewhere else, and he's absolutely fantastic. And he said, me and my duty manager really appreciate what you've done for this client, but actually what you're doing for us, because you're allowing us to find somebody who wants to work in the job, who wants to work for the organisation. And that's your key. If you've got any barrier to work, why do you want to work there? Is it to gain routine? Tell them, I think it would be good. I'm good at, say, the person I got a job at, it was shelf stacking, moving things around. He didn't have any physical issues, so that was a good job for him. But if you have a physical issue, maybe you're excellent at paperwork. We had a woman who used to fix sofas for people, in her spare time. She did it for charities, and I said to her, you've never used that as your skill. Tell people about it. I know you find it difficult walking around, and you perhaps have had some mental health problems in the past, but put a CV together. Talk to some organisations, talk to charities. Do you need anyone for this work? I can work at home. Home-based work is very useful because you can then maintain your own health, but you're also getting paid and you're feeling as though you're part of something. So when it comes to actually finding and breaking down a barrier, you need to assess, what is that barrier? What's stopping me from going back to work? What's stopping me from thinking about going back to work? Can I actually stop that barrier from rearing itself all the time? And if I know it's going to rear itself, is there a contingency plan? If you're a single mother, you could try and find work between certain hours of the day and have a good conversation with managers, with employers, and say, look, these are the reasons. Lay it all out on the table. You will find some organisations aren't going to be as forthcoming as others, but support is so important. And if you're finding that there is a long-term barrier to you working, the absolute best thing you can do is have a good relationship with your managers, with your employers, so that they feel whatever happens, your main focus is staying with the company, staying with the role, trying to make sure that you're a good employee. things always pop up in the pipeline. Things always cause issues. People always take time off work. But if you're honest and if you're open, generally employers are very ready to work with you to help you find the right type of work for you.